Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Capitol Report. As you know, in Congress we are currently debating on how to reform health care, and it is an extremely complicated issue. My guest today is Harry C. Alford, the President and CEO of the National Black Chamber of Commerce, and Mr. Alford and I will discuss the impact that the current health system has on small businesses and how we can reform health care in a way that benefits small businesses across the country. The National Black Chamber of Commerce is a nonpartisan, non-profit business association that represents 100,000 African-American owned businesses nationwide. The organization is strongly in favor of health care reform and of a public option. Many of us, I guess, are still concerned about what the public option is. The best way I can explain it is that we have 47 million people without insurance in this country, and it's really because the present insurance companies will not insure them. It's either too expensive or they have pre-existing conditions. There's some reason that they cannot now get insurance. And the public option is supposed to be an area where they can purchase insurance to the best of their ability. And so that's why I am supportive, because I'm tired of paying their insurance. You know, everybody who does not have insurance, those who have it, are paying for it for them. And so we will see some of that hopefully go down when we get something done about it. But Mr. Alford is the co-founder of the National Black Chamber of Commerce in 1993. As you remember, the first president was from Dallas, Texas. After holding sales and executive positions at Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, and Sara Lee Corporation, all those I like, he was recently named the Cultural Ambassador by the U.S. State Department. I want to thank him for coming today and welcome you, and so delighted that you took time from your busy work to come and talk with us about health care for small businesses.
Well, thank you, Congressman Johnson. You call, I will come.
Well, thank you. Now, small businesses have difficulty affording health care for their employees now, really for themselves as well as their employees, because some businesses just have the one, and that is the person that is covered. And I was told by a woman last week who has a beauty shop that she started about 4 years ago by herself, and she was paying $500 and some a quarter. Now it's $2,500 a quarter, and she's never used it.
She's doing a lot better than me. So $2,500 a month. Huh?
Well, maybe
just
she
for
said
myself.
A month. Gee, now that is, you know, and when you do it with a group, you're supposed to be able to negotiate, because everybody in that group is not going to get sick. And so it's supposed to be negotiated on that basis. And that's happening in large corporations where you have young, healthy people.
Right.
It's interesting. You pay that insurance all of your working years, but when you reach 65, you get dumped over into Medicare. When
you need the insurance, right?
That's when most of the people need insurance more than any other time.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me about how small businesses throughout the country are faring and how important they are to our society.
Well, small businesses normally account for 70% of all new jobs. In a crisis like we have today, a recession/depression, it's even more so. As these big plants downsize, close, and what have you, small businesses are the one to pick up these people as they are laid off or terminated permanently. The problem and the big challenge with small business owners when they get good help is how they can retain that help and grow, because that good help, you can't afford insurance. They are vulnerable to leave you for a major corporation somewhere. So it hurts the growth of the business, it hurts the future, and as the leader of the world, the free world, you would think that we would have the ideal health care delivery system, but we don't. And our chapters in France, England, Spain, and other places, the Caribbean even, they have no problems. It's not an issue to them, insurance. So it's kind of an embarrassing part that I hope Congress will come to grips with this long-term problem and solve it.
Yes. Now, how large is the average small business?
Yeah, by definition, you go by a trade. A construction company is considered small if their 3-year average of receipts is $18 million or less. It depends, but typically in our communities, a small business probably has receipts of $500,000 or less.
Mm-hmm. So, and they do the most hiring in this country.
Yes, ma'am. And it really adds value to a community where the kids can grow up and work in that community and not leave town or move across the country. And entrepreneurship is freedom to make your choice and your decisions, take your risk, and the rewards. And there's nothing better than, as I taught my 2 sons, there's nothing better than being able to sign your paycheck on both sides.
Yes. Now, tell me the general group of businesses that are associated with the National Black Chamber.
Yeah, we have, first of all, we have about 151 chapters in the United States, and each one of those chapters has a membership base of its own. We have a reach to over 100,000 black-owned businesses. Mm-hmm. We have an e-blast that goes out to 12,000 directly. Those chapters will take that e-blast and forward it on to their membership. So the e-blast will reach about all 100,000 mm-hmm. people within a 3-hour period. There are over 1 million black-owned businesses in the country today, according to the U.S. Census. Mm-hmm. When we started in '93, there were about 300,000. So it has grown at a phenomenal rate.
Mm-hmm. You know, so often when people are laid off, they go into their own business because they have learned the skill of the product of which they've worked with for a number of years.
Yeah, especially with the federal government type procurement, IT and what have you, people who have worked at IBM or worked at other big corporations take those skills and apply them to federal contracts. Mm-hmm. And there are quite a few retirees in the federal system who will turn around and start doing business with the federal government because they understand it and they have that expertise and training.
I had a young businessman about 4 or 5 years ago told me he was fired, and he said that was the best thing ever happened to him. He became a multi-millionaire doing the same thing in his own business.
That's right. And sometimes you're afraid to jump into the pool, mm-hmm. and somebody has to push you in before you start swimming.
Now, what is that impact on the communities where they are? Jobs, for one.
That's the biggest premium are jobs. Secondly, image, role models, and what have you, leadership for our youth as they grow, to see somebody that they would want to be like. Mm-hmm. And then reinvestment into the communities. Those who are prosperous, hopefully they give back to those communities. They contribute to their churches, associations, to schools, and other programs. So it's a recycling of the dollars if we do this thing right. And that's what we promote.
Mm-hmm. Now, due to the complaints that I heard from small businesses in my district, it prompted me to vote for the so-called bailout of Wall Street. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, the country invested in it. People say bailout, but what we did was bought about 75 or 80% of it. So as it comes back, we get the taxpayers' money back. But their lines of credit were canceled, and they could not get their products. It was very close to payday, and and every business has to have a line of credit to be successful. And that let me know that the squeeze really was on for small businesses. And it seemed to me that the only way they could get some relief is to give relief to the financial community, the money community. And has it worked, though?
Banks are going to be banks.
Yeah.
And banks are going to take care of themselves first. The problem with the bailout is that most of these banks, when they got this money, they applied it to their own balance sheets. They're taking care of themselves, keeping themselves from going under. The idea of lending was totally closed. That door was closed. I remember I was in San Francisco at the Wells Fargo Museum, and they were talking about the great San Francisco earthquake. And Mr. Fargo, the founder, had communications going out to his banks, and they had this on the wall. And the first thing he said, lend money to no one except your top 1%. shut it down. And this is the earthquake, everybody's in trouble. He said lend money to no one. And that's how banks do. So I think